G'day guys, how you going? Um, do you sense someone who's going to be squirming already? Um, I have just caught a glimpse of myself and I am glowing, not in a good way. Like I am really glowing, like this forehead. Um, it's a middle-aged forehead and I've just been for a run and I'm kind of like, when you go for a run in the heat and you just sweat. And I ran quite well, 6 kilometres. I really enjoy running in the humidity, just like the sweat. But even when I've had a shave and I've clipped the hair, and even when you have a cold shower after sweating, you just continue to sweat. So that's the glow, and I'm looking at myself, and it's like, yeah, it's not a good look. So I apologise for that straight off the bat. I am in a bit of a pickle, guys. And this one, look, this could quite possibly, this review could go for 2 hours, potentially three. Imagine that, like 3 hours of me just talking with this head, sort of just peering at you. Yeah. But look, it won't go for 3 hours. Have I gone underground? I am inconsistent with the time once a game finishes, and then when I do my reviews, I am very inconsistent. I don't have a set time like some other content creators do. They generally have a set time when they put their reviews and their previews out. I'm a little bit different. I just do it when I've got the time. But I will be honest, I have like as soon as Seth Campbell, is it Seth Campbell who did the somersault? I just feel like Richmond have got so many players at the moment who look the same. Like they just look and kind of play the same. I think it was Seth Campbell who kicked that goal off the ground with, I think it was Lockie Cowan that was trying to sort of track him down, and he wasn't able to do it. Kicked that goal off the ground, put him out to 13 points. Game was over. We knew, people around us were telling how much time was left on the clock, and he did that. He did the somersault, and I knew we were in trouble. Like I knew even before that we were in trouble. We just couldn't score, and that's sort of like typical of us when we're in those types of situations. Just scoring for us becomes so difficult. But that was the nail in the coffin, and it did occur to me right then that I'm in a bit of trouble here, and this isn't necessarily about me. But I will address it straight away. It's not about me. Like, sure, I made some really bold and it could be construed as being arrogant and overconfident predictions about this game. And I'm not going to sit here and apologise for that. Like it's just an opinion and how I was feeling. But I will say that it's a fuck up. It's a terrible. I've definitely misread it. I've underestimated the Tigers, and if there was a sense of me disrespecting Richmond in my preview, I do acknowledge that, but at the same time, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that it was just my opinion and the way I was feeling about the game and everything. But I will say I definitely underestimated the power of not just youth, the power of some really proud sort of veterans at that football club, and some strong, I suppose, leadership. And I think just a really strong system with a relatively weak, when I mean weak, a weak football team, not a strong team. And I think most Richmond supporters would acknowledge that there's going to be a fair bit of pain still to come for your club, but that is an extraordinary win, like it's an extraordinary win. And if that was us, in the same situation. And there were games like that. I remember when Bolton first took over, maybe not as big as that, as big as upsets as that, but I remember sort of knocking off, maybe being in Bolton's first or second year when we were just young and inexperienced. We knocked off the Giants, and I think we beat Geelong, and so I do understand how great that must have been for the Richmond supporters. And I have been as soon as Seth Campbell kicked that goal, I just thought, fuck, what have I done here? And I suppose I have gone underground because I really didn't know how to approach this review from a Carlton perspective, first and foremost. It seems like I've said so much already about this football club in regards to just even what happened on Thursday night. It was like I've obviously overestimated our ability just to fight through that game and get the job done. I did say in the preview that, there were three situations that I could see occur. We were never going to lose this game, but one of them was we would play poorly, but still just scrape through, just get the job done and you just move on pretty quickly. But we weren't even able to do that. It's a bitter pill to swallow. But at the same time, I was kind of impressed with not just Richmond's spirit. It was more than just, I think the buzzword at the moment is energy and enthusiasm and effort. I mean, energy is a real buzzword, but it was more than just that. There was a real disciplined approach to it, and that comes with really strong system, really strong, I think, coaching. And I'm not a believer in this aura bullshit that's been sort of bandied around, based on coaches. I just don't believe in that. I don't know Adam Uze. I don't know the assistants at Richmond. But just in regards to the way Richmond set up the ground and their ability, I wrote it down at the time of the game, guys, their ability, I think, particularly after quarter time. And this wasn't a fast comeback. You know what I mean? This wasn't a blistering comeback. This was just off the back of a really strong system, obviously getting numbers back and making it really hard for Carlton to score, first and foremost. But that ability to really close down space defensively and get in the face of us, and the D1, the D2 defence aspect of that, knowing too well that the deficiency of Carlton has always been, you put some serious heat on our ball carriers, particularly through that midfield and even down back, they will falter, and it went to script. But it was a pretty much a consistent thing right throughout those sort of three quarters, second, third, and last quarter. They just kept at it and at it and at it and at it until a point in time that we just cracked, we broke, we panicked, and in the end, you think, given where these two clubs are supposedly at, that was it 13 points in the end. Was it a 30? Yeah, 13 points is a comfortable win in the end. And I think there would have been some, I know where I was sitting on level 4, there was quite a number of Richmond supporters sitting where I was, and they were still a little bit nervous towards the end of that game, but it wasn't a panic sort of nerves. It was just probably, fuck, we're actually going to win this game. This is extraordinary. So it was a right royal fuck up on my behalf. Right royal, that's a term my dad used to use, right royal fuck up. I've got this one really wrong. And I was really impressed with Richmond. And yeah, we played, and I'll get to us shortly. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything with our mob, but we did play poorly. But at the same time, Richmond forced are really brutal. And a club, my club, that's proven, and this is where I've got it wrong, this is where I've got it wrong in my preview, because I've been overconfident and overestimated us and underestimated, I suppose, Richmond's ability to bring that heat for pretty much 4 quarters, taking the first quarter out of the equation. I didn't think Richmond would be able to do that, but we have shown in the past that we lack genuine leadership across the board, and a plethora of other things that have been like a bugbearer of mine. And I am by nature on this channel a very pessimistic and negative supporter. I've never quite believed in this group, not just the group as in just the players, but also just everything. It's sometimes impossible to understand if it's the players or a combination of players and coaches, or it's just impossible, because when I got to the game on Thursday night, and I got there quite early, I sort of sat in the stands, and it was about 45 minutes before the game, and so much has been said. You had your practice matches, a lot's been said, training sessions. You just sort of think, I was thinking in 30 minutes time, the ball's going to be bounced, and the players, both teams, are going to go at it for 120 minutes. And as supporters, right, that's all we're privileged to. That's all we're privileged to. We're not inside the club. We don't see the interactions between the players at training. We don't see what's happening in the rooms before the game. We're just not privy to that. We just base everything on what we see in, let's say, 120 minutes of football. And I was just thinking about that. All the stuff that's been said about our club, what comes out of our club, the hype, the talk, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because we're about to see it. We're about to see it in action for the first time in 2025 at a really serious level. And by God, did we fucking fail. Oh my God, we fucking failed dismally. It was putrid. It was abysmal, deplorable, insipid, disgraceful. And my concern is nothing since Michael Voss has been at this football club. And I'm not letting the players off here at all. Like, they're all in it together as far as I'm concerned. So to point the finger just at, and I've always said that the coaches should be the most powerful figures at your club in regards to direction and building that culture. But nothing fucking ever aligns. I know I mentioned just before, talk is talk, but nothing ever fucking aligns with our club. We always come back to this point in time, and it just becomes just fucking spin. From the coaches to our players to everyone involved at the football club. And Michael Voss was brought to this club 3 years ago to build leadership. And obviously, as a tactician, it wasn't one of his stronger suits. It was mentioned, okay, by Brian Cook when Michael Voss was first appointed as coach, that he has the ability to lead men, to build a club, to build culture. And we now find ourselves after 6 months, And this isn't just one game. Like people saying it's only one game. No, sure. If you're trying to be pragmatic here, which I'll try and be, yeah, there's still so much left of this year. Like there's still so much. And that's still, for me, like I'm still pumped. Not pumped because I think we're just going to turn this around. I'm sort of pumped to see what the fuck, what the fuck are these spin doctors going to do about it? What are they going to do about it? I'm pumped to see what they're going to fucking do about it, man. Like, because, my God, how many times does this group want to go around in fucking circles and come back to the same point? Now, I would have thought after 3.5 years or however long Michael Voss has been at this football club to build fucking culture and build leadership that you would never, and you can have bad games. You can have bad games. But you would never have a performance like that. Like a performance like that at the start of the year after apparently brutal conversations, apparently working on high performance, and getting better at each session, that you would have a performance like that after what transpired at the back end of last year and in that fucking final. You would think they would be breathing fire. Now, admittedly, if they were coming out against a top-notch football team and didn't get the chocolates, yeah. But to be outworked and humiliated by a team which is just in total rebuild. Oh my fucking Godfather. And this is a bloke that is supposed to have built a culture based on high performance, based on being humble. And this reeked of a team that did not give a fuck and weren't willing to work hard enough when it got tough. When it got tough. And I'm sick and tired of the talk that never aligns with anything this fucking group does. And I'm not blaming Patrick Cripps and Jacob Wiedering here because they're super footballers and I think they give their all. But something's not working. Something's gone wrong with leadership at this football club. And I'm not just talking about the leaders at the top end. I'm talking about building leadership right through the whole group. Whole group. This is what Jacob Wiedering said, guys. This is what he said a week or two, and both him and Patrick Cripps spoke a week or two after the season finished, after the debacle of 2024 and what went down at the end of that season, including being goalless at halftime in the elimination final where they just did not fucking fire a shot. Jacob Wiedering said this: is this all talk? If you're not hungry after a season and a final like that, you probably shouldn't be playing the game. That's what he said. If you're not hungry after a season and a final like that, you probably should not be playing the game. Now, that is a direct message to this group that they did not fucking work hard enough and wanted it enough. Injuries aside, they were weak. So what are they going to say now after a performance like that? Because no one can fucking hide. No one can hide after that, man. Like, no one can fucking hide. This is supposed to be a mature football team, like a mature football team. And I'm going to fucking point the fingers here. I'm going to point the fingers. Blokes who've been around this fucking football club for a long time now. Excuse the language here. Excuse the language. Mitch McGovern, Adam Sard, Adam Chera, George Hewitt, Zach Williams. This is the next level. This is the next level of maturity. All these guys who've been, they've got married, they've settled down, they've had kids, they're in the prime of their career, they've been through the fucking hard times, they know what it takes. They know what it takes. They're in the perfect sweet spot. We're ready to go. And when it got tough, when things weren't going our way after the first quarter, and we had the run on, and there were some high fives, and this is going to be easy, we've got it our own way, but soon as the opposition, they sensed, they sniffed it, they were probably told that this club have got a fucking history of doing this. Go back and watch their tapes. Go back and look at the way they folded. Look at the way they fold this mob. If we keep at them, they'll fold. My God. So where is this coming from? Is this coming from... You can talk about game plan. You can talk about that until you're fucking blue in the face. My God. I mean, I see it this way. Like, I just see it as style. I see game plan as style. I see it as effort. I see it as synergy. I see it as every player on the ground on the same page. And that also comes from strong, mature players who are capable of, when things turn and things aren't going your way, because they won't always go your way, even against a team like Richmond, that you're able to restock. They're able to settle and not panic and not go into your shell and be selfish. And I don't see it. I just don't see it. I've never really seen it with this group, with these players who were just waiting for that period in time. You get through your mid-20s and you are hoping that they'll reach a sort of point in their career where it just all clicks, man. And on the back of that, my God, my fucking Godfather, I've written down some observations, and maybe I'm clutching at straws with a few of these, but these are just some of the things I sort of jotted down when I was at the game that I sort of noticed. In regards to, and I'm not. You got to chuck everyone in. I don't care whether they're young. I don't care, man. Like, you are a professional footballer. I can acknowledge that young players are going to make mistakes. Okay, but if you're ready to go, and if you're ready to go and you get that opportunity to play senior football, we're not expecting you to be a world beater, but first thing I want to talk about, first thing I noticed, and I love this guy, I really do. I think he's been a great pickup for us. I didn't think. I'm not even looking at his stats, but I didn't think he had a great game. But he wasn't our worst. But Blake Acres, I don't even know who he was talking to on his wing, but I had great seats. Like, I was level 4, but right down the front of level 4, right on the wing. It was just a beautiful spot to watch the game, up high. But early in the game, right up until halftime, when things were going our way, and I don't know who apologies for this, but I was finding it really difficult to pick up the numbers on the back of the Richmond players' jumpers. The white Maybe it came across better on the TV, but the white on the back of the yellow, it was just blurred. I couldn't see. So I was constantly asking my son, who had a footy record, who that player is. Could he see? Check the record. Who is it? But anyway, I noticed Blake Acres, when he was on the members stand side wing, because they often swap and rotate, after we were kicking goals early in that game, he was, and at quarter time and at the start of half time, he was talking to his direct opponent. Now, this wasn't banter talk. You could tell by the body language it wasn't banter talk. It was a conversation. Now, I understand we see that a lot in the modern game. Players know each other, they talk. But I would think, given our situation, given where we're at, given the importance of, one, starting this season strongly and making at least a statement, and we were never going to get, regardless of the scoreline in this game, whether we belted Richmond, I don't think any of us would get carried away. It's a long season. But to see one of your more experienced players, and maybe he was giving the youngster a word of advice, a bit of encouragement. Maybe, I know Blake Acres, I think, got the first goal. Okay, from a Vlostone mistake, kicked across the face of goal. Maybe he was having a bit of a joke. Geez, I got lucky there, or this and that. But it was more than that. Just that. He was continually. I was watching. He was continually having a chat to his much younger opponent. And I thought, shake his fucking hand at the start of the game, and for the next 120 minutes, don't fucking say a word to him. Don't fucking say a word to him. Don't make him comfortable. Don't make him comfortable. Sees his kid probably going, oh, geez, he's a nice bloke. Geez, what a nice bloke this Blake Acres is. He's giving me some friendly encouragement. He's saying he got lucky there. Man, this is all right. Fuck, I'm going to work my way into this game. This is not too bad. I'm going to play on a pretty nice guy here. That's one thing I noticed, okay? And it's not a huge thing, but fuck, this is a cultural thing. We're in no position to being fucking nice. Then I noticed at the start, Cooper Lord actually started the game okay. He started the game okay. He got his hands on the ball, spent some time in the midfield, and this isn't necessarily a knock on Cooper Lord. And what I will say about Richmond, you've got a beauty in Luke Traynor. You've got an absolute fucking beauty in Luke Traynor. Don't worry about things you've heard about his personality. Like, he's a bit of a different cat, okay? I watched him at Coates Talent League last year. He fancies himself a bit, which is good. I wish we had more players in our football club who fancied themselves a bit. He's going to be a player that I reckon, opposite, if you can keep him on the park, keep him fit, he's going to be a player that in time opposition fans are going to dislike, and you're going to love him. He can play. And he's still got a heap of development left in him. And he kind of reminds me in personality a little bit like Jake Lever. That's the vibe he gives me. Well, anyway, at the start of I can't remember what the start of the third quarter maybe, and Cooper Lord had started okay in this game. And they're former teammates. Cooper Lord and Luke Traynor are former teammates. I know they played at the Sandy Dragons together. And I'm pretty sure they may have played in the premiership together in 2023. So they do know each other. But Luke Traynor was fucking giving it to him. And I know it was probably in good jest and it was a bit of banter, but he was giving it to him physically, pushing him. But there was no comeback from Cooper. There was no comeback. I watched it. There was no comeback at all, and it just coincided. He just went out of the game. He just went fucking out of the game. He could not get his hands on the ball, and then it accumulated at three-quarter time, and this is something he's going to have to live with. And I'm sure they'll get around, and hopefully he doesn't make that same mistake again. But that goal on three-quarter time, and I can't even remember what player it was for Richmond who kicked that goal. He took that mark, but Cooper Lord just did not go for the ball. He did not go. And there was a kid who'd been spooked out of the game. And where was the fucking leadership? Where was someone come over and maybe fucking just give this fucking young buck Luke Trainer a bit of a clip behind the ear? Where was Big Harry just to come over and go, fuck off, you little fuck? I'm not saying Cooper Lord shit himself, but geez, that was a bad moment. That was a bad moment for the youngster. And there's no, people say, why was he subbed off? That was the icing on the cake. Maybe they'd already made their mind up that they were going to sub him off. But given what he was able to do early in the game, Harry McKay, I'm on the Harry, and I've had this, so don't think this is just I'm being reactive, because I've been on this for a long time now. And who am I to call someone as weak as piss? But that's, for me, the way it comes across. Not only was he shown up by, and he played exceptionally well, Jacob Blight. Poor, didn't he impress? And then when Ben Miller went on him, which I thought was a bit of a surprise. I thought it would be Ben Miller on Harry, but that was a good move. That was a good move, a really good move. Miller, the more experienced player, just setting up, but they didn't lose a lot when Blight went off, because Miller did an exceptional job as well. But I've said it and I'll continue to say it. Harry McKay is a very talented footballer, but he has got no physicality about him at all. And I feel for him at times, given the way we play. I feel for him that Richmond were getting numbers back. I feel for all that. But there's no aggression in his game. There's no physicality in his game. And the best key forwards in my book are not necessarily the ones who kick big bags of goals every week. They're the ones who put the fear of life. And it's very hard in this day and age to do that. I understand that. But they sort of play on the fucking edge. And he could do well to source Tom Hawkins, I reckon. And have it. And I'm not saying Tom Hawkins was a dirty player by any stretch, but he was a physical brute. And up the other end of the ground, you see a player like Tom Lynch, who's clearly on his last legs, who could hardly move, but at the very least showed some fucking physicality. I know we got reported, and I'm not asking our players to get reported, but he plays on the edge and he's never out of the game. And I just think it's disappointing by Harry. And I chuck him into that leadership group that I mentioned before, but they were all players that have been brought to the club. And Harry's a little bit younger, but he's not young anymore. And what does he provide in regards to real fucking presence? Easily beaten. I mentioned Mitch McGovern and Adam Saab before, but what are they? Highly invested recruits who add zero in regards to, I think, discipline. Sticking to the basics, the real basics when the heat's on, when you need steady heads. And that's leadership. And as a defensive group, fuck me dead, do they make some mistakes? And once again, they're highly talented footballers. Highly talented footballers. And this isn't necessarily a knock on the way that this their ability at the game, but footy's more than just kicks and handballs for an Adam Sard. It's more than just that. I just don't think they do the basics and the fundamentals as senior leaders or supposed leaders of this football club at all well. And the amount we've given up for those types of players to get them to the club, it's been right now a massive fail. Just on that as well, there was a situation, Richmond's first goal, when big Toby Nankervis had a great battle with TDK. It's been a fair bit of hate towards TDK, and I thought he at least tried to drag us back into that game. But it was a good battle. And he's a warrior. He's a premiership ruckman, and he's the captain of the football club, and he's a warrior. So I wouldn't expect anything less than from Nankervis. But for him to be able to mark that ball to kick Richmond's first goal in the first quarter was, to me, the start of what's typical of Carlton. Really poor defending as a group. Wiedering out of position. McGovern missing the ball completely. TDK, who was there as well. So 3 against 1 against the bloke who can't get off the ground anymore. He just put his hands up, and that is systematic. And mistakes are made. Mistakes are made, but it just, that lack of belief amongst each other to work together as a defence was the start of, for me, the slide in that game. Skill execution, fundamentals, lack of care, when the heat was applied, slipping over, fumbles, handballs, missing targets. That's not a high performance, as Patrick Cripps said in his interview at the start of last year, or at the end of last year. I feel like right now we're a good club, but the next stage for us is learning how to be a great club, and that's high performance. Well, where's the change? Where's the change being made, Cripper? Where's the change being made? Because we just continue to talk about the same things with this group, and you can talk about high performance and wanting to get better as much as you like, bud, but that just does not change with this group. I've just written down here, might be harsh, but I really, right at the moment, I don't care. I've got Sam Walsh, A-grade Jet to B-grade Plotter. That might be harsh given what his body's gone through, but that's the reality right now. He's a plotter. He is a plotter. And maybe he'll get better as the year progresses, but what? And if he's not ready, well, I just think he's just not covering the ground. It's a concern for me. Sam Walsh is a huge concern for me because he was kind of like the point of difference for us, just with his superior running and his ability to cover the ground and his competitiveness. Now that he can't do those things like he used to, he gets caught a lot more. He just can't cover the ground. He's just unable to be as competitive as he once was, and it's a concern. It's a big concern. This one is just fucking mind-blowing. I saw it once. 2 Carlton players flying for the same ball. Same ball. In the air. No Richmond player around, but flying for a mark for the same ball and canning into each other. Then it happened again. So I thought, I'm going to note how many times it happens, because you might see it once in a game. Sometimes you don't see it at all. I counted 5 times in the game that we cannoned into each other in the air. Lack of talk, lack of awareness. Sure, sometimes it happens, but to happen 5 times in a game, lack of connection, lack of synergy. That's not a team. My God, one thing you can bring, and Richmond brought it, is tackling and pressure. That's one thing. Doesn't matter about, I suppose, the skill execute. Well, it does matter with the handballing and the kicking, but everyone can fucking get down and lay a tackle. And as far as I can see, it's 20% technique and 80% intent. And there was a lack of intent to work Richmond over at any stage during that game. The only time I remember a big tackle laid was by Patrick Cripps on Toby Nankervis. It was the only time that I saw a tackle with real intent. Easily the most hyped up midfield in the comp. Easily the most hyped midfield in the comp. And it's B grade. And I know we tried to chuck Motlop in there. I think maybe Williams went in there for a couple of centre bounces, but this is a below par midfield. A below par midfield. You can you can take the lack of speed if you've got players who are exquisite with their decision making and are unbelievable by foot and hit targets consistently. We can do it sometimes when the pressure's on, but when the pressure's on, we just go to water in that aspect of the game. And then my final point, and I say this a lot, I don't see where we're going with any of our small forwards. They might have a reasonable game here and there. And the lack of X factor in this team, particularly forward of centre, is mind-blowing, really. And you could probably chuck the wingers and midfield into that as well. But when that game was kind of on knife's edge and it got away from us, I just said to myself, we're not going to win this now because we don't have anyone who's got the ability to make something out of nothing. It certainly wasn't going to come from Lockie Fogarty, Cottrell, Francis Evans. Motlop had a stinker. Zach Williams continues to be a disappointment. There was nothing really going to come from our midfield other than maybe winning some clearances out of the middle to get the ball forward. But the lack of real X factor and real excitement in this team is a genuine concern. And this is not even including the inability of our coaches to make some real adjustments to this game when it started to turn. And I understand in game, okay, that comes from the leaders, but even at halftime, there was a sense that things were starting to turn, and to finally move Jack Silvani forward with about 4 or 5 minutes to go when the game had probably got away from us was like, and I think Voss has admitted that came too late. Yeah. Oh, look, I don't know, guys, where we go from here. I really don't. As I said before, I'm still pumped because I'm fascinated to see. I'm fascinated to see what this group has got in them. I'm 100% sure not as bad as what we displayed on Thursday night, but even an improvement on that, I think we all know it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And there lays the problem. There lays the problem because it's only 6 months ago that Patrick Cripps said, I feel right now we've learnt to be a solid club, a good club, but the next stage for us is to learn how to be a great club. And it kind of feels like we're stuck with a group that essentially hasn't got it from the coaching into the playing group. And I now have some grave concerns about Cripper. He's a magnificent footballer and he comes across as just a bloke that's done everything he could to get this club tracking in the right direction. But now he finds himself probably questioning everything that he's done as the captain of this football club. When you have a performance like that and things clearly aren't working, and if he's looking in the rear vision mirror, looking behind and looking at the likes of, I mentioned the names before, I mentioned them, that next group of players who are in the 28 to 32 are just not pulling their weight. And he hasn't been able to get this club really tracking in the right direction. He starts to now question himself as well. And where does the confidence come from if that's the case? So it does become a big, fascinating watch going into a game against Hawthorn next week, which is now known as the Egg Cup. Anyway, take care. I'll have a preview of the Hawthorn game coming up over the next couple of days. There you go, guys. Exactly 45 minutes.